Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the UWF Fury Cast with your host, Gene Jackson, the only podcast brave enough, or perhaps dumb enough, to sit through every episode of Herb Abrams' Universal Wrestling Federation Fury Hour so you don't have to. This week, we're up to episode number 17. Let me tell you, if you thought Herb couldn't top last week's chaos, strap in. We've got blood, lumberjack match announcements, the Vikings here smashing furniture, the 1991 UWF version of Chief Jay Strongbow, and of course, Herb Abrams screaming over his own commentary all the while. Let's get into it. Craig George and Bruno Sammartino welcome us from Los Angeles. Bruno lets us know the card is stacked, or at least stacked by Herb Abrams standards. In fact, I'll let you let Herb just tell you himself what's going down today.
And a power-packed lineup it is, Craig and Bruno, starting off with Bruno's son, David Sammartino. The Russian Bear, Ivan Koloff, is in action tonight, too. We'll go back to 2 weeks ago for the conclusion of the Dr. Death Steve Williams battle he had with Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. The destruction and power of the Viking. Iceman King Parsons gets set to do his thing. And then the feature brawl between hotshot Barry O from the Cherokee Nation will take on Chief Jay Strongbow. Captain Lou returns with another adventure in Captain Lou's Corner. Also, a lucky fan gets his question answered on another segment of Ask the Wrestlers.
Well, there you have it, 17 weeks in, and Herb Abrams still has not learned how to say Ivan, but we'll get there maybe. Opening match, David Sammartino taking on Cutie Pie Louie Spicoli. I found it humorous to make note, David Sammartino made his way to the ring to the Belle Biv DeVoe song, Poison. That's right, Bruno had to try and put over his son on commentary while in the background, David's theme song warns you, never trust a big butt and a smile, that girl is poison. I'm not sure what David's trying to tell us here, but that's the music he was given. David, looking like he just came from a bodybuilding show, takes on the very young Louie Spicoli here, who's been very active so far in the UWF. Bruno spends most of the match explaining how his son should be wrestling instead of calling what he's actually doing. Spicoli, as always, bumps like a madman, looks great. But David locks in a figure four leg lock and gets the win. My takeaway here is Spicoli continues to show flashes of just amazing talent that would later get him some opportunities, but the UWF just isn't it. And David looked like, well, David. Of course, I'm sure Herb thought this was all just WrestleMania quality here to kick off the show. Next match, we see the Russian Bear, Ivan Koloff, as Herbie calls him, taking on Ricky Ataki. Ricky Ataki absolutely gets mauled by the Russian Bear here. Ataki shows off some fire and a little bit of Japanese fighting spirit, if you will, but basically Koloff just wrecks him. We get chair shots, chain shots, and Bruno's putting Koloff over as one of the toughest men he ever faced in his career. Koloff wins decisively after punishing Ataki like he owed Herb money. And this wasn't a no disqualification match, but Ivan managed to get all that in without getting disqualified and get the win. So there you go. Now, the next segment, we're finally going to see the match and the ending that we waited 17 episodes and now an additional 2 weeks for. But now, folks, it's time. It's finally here. It's finally time for Herbie to deliver a satisfying main event finish that will make all this nonsense we've went through worth it. That's where we head off to next. Now, you people may remember this is the continuation of the Dr. Death and Mr. Wonderful War from 2 weeks ago. Both guys are busted open. They're covered in blood. They're headbutting each other into oblivion. We got to get to a satisfying finish pretty quickly here, folks. Let's go. Then the ref loses control. Half the roster runs in. They can't be separated. We get 12 wrestlers in the ring. Williams and Orndorff are swinging like two drunks outside a bar at 3 a.m. And finally, the referee throws it out. That's right. A double fucking disqualification. That is what we waited 2 weeks for, folks. Fans in the arena aren't happy. Herb uses this to set up a lumberjack match for February 15th at the Penta Hotel in New York. If there was ever a UWF match worth paying for, this is hopefully going to be the one. because there's no way UWF can screw us out of a decisive finish in a lumberjack match, right? Right? There has to be a winner. You can't. That's what a lumberjack match is. You can't disqualify anybody. You can't count anybody out. We will have to see either Dr. Death Steve Williams or Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff get their hand raised and be the definitive winner after so many disappointing main events on the UWF Fury Hour. So, what's the one thing that could possibly make it up to us that we got hosed again on a finish in a UWF match? A new edition of Captain Lou's Corner with Sunny Beach, or as Lou calls him, Sandy Beach. Although, to be fair to Lou, Mr. Beach would use both those names at different times in his career, but I'm sure Lou is just drunk or coked out here and just didn't remember his freaking name. But with any event, let's let you hear this one for yourself. We tend to always listen to these Captain Lou corners, and I don't know why, but let's experience once again Captain Lou's Corner with Sunny, aka Sandy Beach.
Yes, wrestling fans, it's the old fat man, Captain Lou Albano, baby. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm back with the Captain's Corner this week, and I know all about water. I know all about beaches, Daytona Beach, Palm Beach, the whole bit. In fact, I take a shower every day. But I got somebody from the beach. I got Sunny Beach. Here he is. Look at his super giant. Go ahead, brother. Tell him about yourself.
Sunny Beach, the man with the most from coast to coast, coming at you live in the UWF, taking on all comers in competition. Be looking for Sunny Beach out there.
You know all I got to say, wrestling fans, when you talk about Universal Wrestling Federation, they said they would bring you the cream of the crop. They said you would bring you the top guys. They said you would bring you superstar wrestlers. Well, here they are. You got a man standing 6'3", weighing some 267 pounds. The man can move and groove, baby. He can surf. He's got the wrestling knowledge, the wrestling balance all together. I told you I was an expert on professional wrestling and on beaches. And right here, I'm standing next to Sandy Beach. Sandy, what is your purpose for coming into Universal Wrestling? Tell him, brother.
To better myself, to make a name for myself in the UWF, and I'm coming live and in color, so take a good look.
Now, you see, here is a man that is a young athlete. That's right. He is a young stud in the prime of his life, baby. And he knew that he'd have to come to where the best is at, and that was Universal Wrestling. So he's coming on strong into Universal, where he would have the best of competition and could make a definite name for himself. You know what I mean? That's my friend B. Brian Blair. Yes, he came right home, baby, right to Universal Wrestling. I'm Captain Lou. And we said we'd bring you the best. Well, I don't lie. Woo! I feel good.
We'll return after these messages.
Relive the glory days of Memphis wrestling with the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast. Each week, we go back in time to review USWA Championship Wrestling from the 1990s, episode by episode. Join us for watch-alongs, behind-the-scenes stories, and exclusive interviews with people who were there and lived it. Whether you grew up watching it or you're discovering it for the first time, this podcast is your ringside seat to Memphis wrestling history. It's all a part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Listen now at USWApodcast.com.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here, curator of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, inviting you guys to listen to many of the programs here as part of the WrestleCopia brand, including, but not limited to, the Wrestling Memory Grenade, currently covering the 1988 and the WWF project. You can also listen to the Regional Wrestling Podcast, where we talk the territories. You can also listen to the Wrestling Stoop with the legend himself, Bob Roop. But that's not all. You can also check out the Puro Wrestling Academy with the professor of Puroresu, Mr. Dan Ginnity. Dan and I go back in time and cover the history of Japanese professional wrestling in the English language. And you can listen to all of those shows and more, all part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, located over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com, and anywhere your podcast streaming needs are met. So if you're looking to support that next up-and-coming podcast brand, please consider making it WrestleCopia.
Tired of the same boring wrestling podcast? Need something with attitude, chaos, and maybe just a little cussing? That's STSpod.club, and we got it all covered. We've got Wrestling Weirdness with WTF News Desk, 5-minute time limit, and the Southern Fried Brain of me, BT, steering the whole ship. We also have Rolling Into Memphis every week about the current Memphis wrestling. Interviews, hot takes, and wrestling outrageousness so wild it might get you banned in 12 states. That's right, it's SDSpod.club or search all podcast catchers for Shooting the Shiznit, where wrestling podcasts grow chest hair. Not sure what that meant. Love my mama.
And that, folks, is the lesson on how you can spend 2 whole minutes not saying a goddamn thing. Did you get anything out of that? Afterwards, can you tell me anything about Sunny/Sandy Beach? No. The only thing you ever get out of these Captain Lou segments, he always makes the point to mention at the end, woo, I feel good. And perhaps he's feeling a little too good. And that's why these interviews are always just awful. But there he is, sunny Sandy Beach. So keep an eye out for him. He's one of the young superstars here in the Universal Wrestling Federation, who I'm sure is going to go on to have an amazing, amazing career somewhere, someday, hopefully. Next up, we got the Iceman King Parsons taking on Matt Starr. And, Iceman is having his way with Matt Starr, as people previously have with Matt Starr here on the Fury Hour. But the real story is Colonel DeBeers showing up at ringside, silently pointing at the Iceman. The racial undertones aren't subtle, and Herb's clearly trying to build tension here and can carry on this racial angle and try, I guess, perhaps to get it off of the referee and onto his alleged cousin, Iceman King Parsons. But Iceman ignores him. He gets the win, but you know where all this is heading eventually, right? To a match where no one will freaking win, if the past has taught us anything. Up next, match number 4, we get the future Ludwig Borga. The Viking comes out and destroys a ringside chair, terrifies fans. It's almost like a Japanese entrance here. And then he proceeds to demolish the intern. Suplexes, power slams, just raw brutality. The Viking looking like an absolute monster here. If only Herb knew how to book him beyond beating up the jobbers. And if only Ludwig Borga knew how to work beyond just hitting random moves on people. But as you'll see, I'm sure people who were watching this back in 1991 would never have bet that he would eventually be signed to the WWF and get a short run there. But I also never thought that John Tolos would get a job as a manager based on the things he did here in the UWF. But that's another thing that happened too. So what the hell do I know? Then we get our Ask the Wrestler segment. This week's question: how do wrestlers of today compare to wrestlers of 20 to 30 years ago? And who are they asking? The living legend himself, Bruno Sammartino. And of course, it said, I'll tell you. Shockingly, Bruno says that both eras had great wrestlers. He really didn't say anything groundbreaking here, but the fan gets a free t-shirt. And surprisingly, Bruno didn't bury the current wrestling of the day, and he was pretty nice about it, which try asking him that question a year or two later and see what Bruno would say. He could have done it in a 40-second segment, I can promise you that. And now it's time for our main event. That's right, folks. 1991's hottest main event of UWF Fury Hour so far features this UWF version of Chiefs Jay Strongbow taking on former WWF superstar Barry O.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Chic, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all. And all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey, it's Bob Smith, and guess what? The Outdated Wrestling Hour is now part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. But hey, no fear, you're still going to hear the unique guests, comedy, music, authors, journalists, funny people. Who knows who's going to end up on the Outdated Wrestling Hour? Remember, it's all new and all old. So check it out in the WrestleCopia Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcasts. Listen if you know what's good for you.
This is Wrestling Nostalgia, the podcast that dives into wrestling history. Hey, wrestling fans, I'm Dave Dynasty, and if you enjoy podcasts that are knowledgeable and history-driven, then Wrestling Nostalgia is for you. With great guests and fun interviews, there are over 200 episodes in our archives. We chat with several first-time guests and often cover topics not discussed on other podcasts. Look up Wrestling Nostalgia on your favorite podcast platform and visit all of our links at linktree/wrestlepod. That is linktr.ee/RASSLEPOD. And remember, wherever you go, whatever you do, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.
And even this fake Strongbow seems to be way past his prime, if he ever had one. But he does the war dance, he does the chops, he sells like he's fighting for his tribe. And Barry O actually looks decent here. He's taking shortcuts, working as a heel. Probably about the best I've seen Barry O look in a match. The crowd starts getting into Strongbow's comeback. And just when things start rolling, the bell rings. That's right, because our big main event is a 10-minute time limit fucking draw. That's right. The fans groan. I groan. Herb probably thought he had just booked Flair versus Steamboat all over again. I mean, seriously, Barry O, a career jobber everywhere he went, aside from one little run in Stampede with a mask on. And we can't even get him to go under in a main event against your fake Chief Jay Strongbow. What the fuck? I mean, I give up, folks. I don't know that we're ever going to get a finish in a main event. If we couldn't get Barry O to take the fall, I don't know who will. Jesus Christ. So in closing, episode 17 was one of the more action-packed installments so far. The Dr. Death Orndorff brawl was really good if you're cherry-picking UWF episodes until you get to the finish. But then again, you can say that about a lot of matches in the UWF. The rest of the show, not so much. Barry O versus Chief Jay Strongbow in 1991 is something that happened and probably could have been considered a net positive if we'd have just had a finish. But no matter what they did in the match, it's going to suck when you get down to a freaking time limit draw when you just made people wait 2 weeks to find out there was no winner between Dr. Death and Mr. Wonderful. Shit, let Chief Jay Strongbow win, even if he's not the real chief. Or hell, let Barry O win. Just let somebody fucking win over somebody that's not an official jobber. What about that? What if we tried that just once? Just once. Might work out for us. But anyway, the Viking was the Viking, and we get a little glimpse into the future with Iceman King Parsons and Colonel DeBeers. That should be a banger, as the kids call it these days. So in summary, Spicoli shined in his match while David Sammartino technically won. Ivan Koloff is still being pushed very hard, although I don't know towards what or who. Dr. Death and Mr. Wonderful steal the show until the finish. The Viking is just terrifyingly awful. And apparently Herb Abrams is still insane because he just keeps delivering this same bunch of nonsense week in and week out. But I must be insane because here I am watching it, talking to you about it week in and week out. So who's the crazy one, Gene? Thanks for listening, folks. Don't forget to subscribe and join me next time as we continue to march deeper into the madness of Herb Abrams' UWF. Until then, remember, I watch this shit so you don't have to. But if you choose to, Every episode is on the Retro Wrestling Archive YouTube channel. Join the other 10,000 subscribers we have there and find out why we'll be your new favorite source for old school retro wrestling action. And I promise it's not all Herb Abrams UWF. There's literally something for everyone and something from all the big territories from the last 30 or 40 years. So check it out. There's going to be something there you like. Tell a friend because there'll be something there they like as well. And we'll keep building that channel up. We'll keep adding to the content, and we'll keep doing these sorts of podcasts, talking about the different ones. And would love to hear your suggestions. Do you like this? What could be different? What could be better? Should I even bother with this? I'd love to know. And if not this, what would you like to hear me talk about that we're not already talking about? But again, thanks for listening. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time for more Retro Wrestling with Gene Jackson, and specifically on this show, the UWF Fury Cast.